Hello, namaste, and welcome back. Today's video, we're going to talk about a foundational important aspect of our movement, everyday activities. We hear a lot about core engagement. What is core? That is what I'm going to describe to you in this not too long, not too short a class. Yeah. So what basically is core? Whenever I ask anybody in my class, what is core? Can you engage your core and show it to me? You know what they do? They suck in their tummy, just pull it in and hold their breath. So they feel that as soon as they do that, the core is engaged. No, there are technicalities. There are muscles that are directly linked on activating the core. So the more we are aware of what muscles we're using, we're knowing our body better and we're using it to the best of our benefits. The three muscles, there are lots of other muscles involved, but the three muscles that we will learn about today, and that is what I'm going to talk about. First is the pelvic floor, the muscles at the base of our spine. Just below the sacrum, we have the floor that has to be lifted up to be activated. In Sanskrit, we call it the Mula Bandha activation. That is the pelvic floor. The second muscle is the transverse abdomen. Again, it's not the six-pack or the rectus abdominis we're talking about. It's the transverse abdominis, just at the base of the rectus abdominis. That needs to be contracted to keep it utilized. I'm going to tell you how we can do it in a moment. Then is the multifidus muscle, the muscles that link or connect the pelvis to the spine. That is the multifidus. These are the three important muscles. And lastly, when we're breathing in and out, we're not holding our breath. So when we're breathing in and out, the diaphragm muscle, the diaphragm that contracts and expands as we're breathing in, that helps in keeping the core engaged. So these three muscles, directly and indirectly the diaphragm, four muscles are important to keep the core engaged and bring it to the best of its health. So let's talk about the pelvic floor, the Mula Bandha engagement. How can we do that? And how can we feel the engagement there? We know it is there, but how do we use it to our benefit? So in a practical example, I'm just going to tell you how we want to go to the toilet to pee, but we can't. If there's a rush on the toilet and we need to hold our pee. So we activating the perineum muscles by trying to hold the pee. We just feel this lift from south to north upwards when we're holding our pee. And when we're holding our pee, we take our attention to our breath. We feel we're holding that as well. We're pulling the pelvic muscles up, pelvic floor up, lifting it up, but not holding the breath. So let's try this for a moment. Lift the pelvic floor up, engage the perineum muscles, and take a deep breath in. Now hold the breath for a moment. Feel this activation down here and the diaphragmatic drop, the diaphragm muscles pushing down. And together we release it. Let's do it one more time. Activate the pelvic floor, engage the pelvic floor muscles, and take a deep breath in. Hold the breath for a moment with the engagement down here and release. So as soon as you start to do that with practice, you will be able to connect your breathing practice with the engagement of the pelvic floor. That is the first muscle we spoke about. Second, the transverse abdominis. Where is it located? We have the hip bone here, the bone that protrudes out at the top. We go about a couple of inches inwards and a couple of inches down, just above the pubic bone. We have this muscle. If you imagine somebody punching into you, you suddenly contract that muscle. You feel that hardness here. Just press into it, hit into it. You feel this tightness here. It's not the rectus abdominis or the six-pack. It is this muscle just above the pubic bone, the transverse abdominis. So that contraction. Hit into it, contract it. Now take a deep breath in. And hold the breath for a moment, just feeling this tightness here as well. And we're going to exhale and release the muscle together. Remembering, we're not going to engage any muscles 100%. As soon as we take our activation to 100%, we're starting to use different groups of the muscles to compensate. So we don't want that. So we're going to first pull it in 100% and release it to about 50% to get the maximum engagement of that area. Let's do the TVA one more time. Engage it like somebody's punching you. Just tighten or contract this muscle here. Now take a deep breath in. hold this activation just for a moment and release it together. So the more activation you do to the muscles, the more you strengthen it. So feeling the contraction is how you can activate the muscle. That was the second. The third is the multifidus. Again, the muscle that is connecting the pelvis to the spine. So it is located in the lower lumbar region of the spine, and how we can activate this. We're going to just imagine the vertebra on the base of our spine. We're going to just pull it down back. We're going to pull it down towards the south. So just imagine you're not sucking in your stomach too much, but you're just pushing the lumbar vertebra downwards. Feel that activation. All these movements, it's not going to be visible to your eyes, but because they're quite superficial, they're quite deep. They're not on the superficial area that you can see them, but you feel them as you isolate them and do them separately. So you're going to push your vertebra down towards the base. So you feel that engagement there. As soon as you do that, you're also engaging your gluteus muscles, your gluteus maximus. So that is also a part of the core engagement. So you do that, pull that in. Now take a deep breath in. Hold it for a couple of seconds. And together, release the multifidus muscle, the glutes, and breathe out. One more time. Pull this lower vertebra, the lumbar vertebra, downwards, and take a deep breath in. Hold the breath for a moment, keeping that activation on, and release. So these are the three important group of muscles, and with the diaphragm, the 4 muscles that you need to know about to get the full benefit of your core engagement. Now I'm going to show you how we can put that into practice as you're doing your workouts or yoga practices, or even in your day-to-day life when you're doing any activities of any form, side bend, forward fold, you're lifting something heavy. The engagement and the strengthening of the core will avoid you from having pain in the back, pain in the hip, your glutes. Many problems can be avoided by strengthening the core, but that can only be done by correctly engaging or strengthening the muscles that are linked to the core engagement. Okay, so what we spoke about just now, we're going to put that information into physical practice. So the mind-muscle connection is always important to realize what we've learned, what is in our head, is experienced in our body. So we put that into connection to get the best effect, to know that what we're doing is helping our body. So let's get into a supine position, lying on our back. Now, whenever we start to work on our core, people talk about core engagement, they start using the work on their legs. It's great. That's what we do. We start working on our legs by maybe lifting the legs up and putting it down, or different exercises related to the leg, which directly links with the core. But we don't realize that we're compensating the lower back when we're working with the legs. We are putting our engagement in our core a little bit. If people have heard a little bit of core engagement, they pull their stomach in and then work with their legs, but not realizing that while they're doing that, they're holding the breath, because they suck their stomach in, they're holding the breath and then using their legs to work on the core region. One is the compensation on the lower back, which is not going to help in the long term. Second is holding the breath, which is again not advisable at all. So what can we do? Core engagement. First, we're going to bring our back to a neutral position. No anterior pelvic tilt, no posterior pelvic tilt. We're going to keep it in a neutral position. Okay, now here we're going to start activating our pelvic floor. Remember I mentioned about holding the P. We're going to hold our P and pull our Mula Bandha engagement. Pull our pelvic floor from south to northwards. So pull that in, deep breath in and out. When we exhale, we release. Make sure the back is in a neutral position, no movement anywhere, just the pelvic floor. And I release together. One more time. Engage the Mula Bandha and inhale. Hold it for a moment and exhale. Again, no 100% activation, just about 50%, to know and engage the right muscle that we're working on. Second, the transverse abdominis. Let's engage it. Feel somebody is boxing you in your lower abdomen region, and take a deep breath in. Hold this contraction here and release it together. One more time. Hold it for a moment and release it. Feel that softening here as you exhale. Now the multifidus, we're just going to push the lower vertebra down towards the ground. So here we're just going to take a slight bit of a posterior pelvic tilt. So pull the lower vertebra downwards, take a deep breath in and release. So these three actions, we're going to put them together to have a full core engagement. So how? Let's just imagine we have an egg that is placed in the center of our abdomen, making sure we're not pressing it too hard that it can break and not even letting it loose that it falls. So we're holding it in place where it's floating, but we're using the muscles around to keep it in place. So that engagement is going to hold that egg really tight and engaged. So imagining an egg there, we're going to first engage the pelvic floor, pull the perineum muscles up. Now we're going to contract the transverse abdominis. Little poke with your fingers will do. Now the multifidus muscle, push the lower vertebra down. Feel that action in this midsection of your body. Again, not 100%, maybe 50%. Now use the diaphragm. Deep breath in. Hold this entire action here just for a moment or two. Get that mind-muscle, mind-body connection. And when you exhale, release and let go. So individually, get the attention of all these muscle groups with your diaphragm. Hold it for a second, and when you release it, feel that relaxation of these muscle groups involved. Yeah? Now we put that into action. Set your back in a neutral position. Now start engaging your core, your pelvic floor, your transverse abdominis, your multifidus muscles. Inhale using your diaphragm. Now we're going to lift both our legs up 90 degrees. This is going to help get a little bit more intensity into the engagement. And exhale. One more time. Feel that action, that deep action in the midsection of your body. You want to go a little bit further? You can drop our right leg down and pick it up. Drop the left leg down. Pick it up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Activate, contract. And soften, relax. So feeling each and every individual group muscles associated with it can help us get the mind-body connection. Now go a little bit deeper. Contract, activate all the muscles related to the core. Now we're going to simultaneously draw our right leg in and left leg out. This goes a little bit more difficult, you're going to feel, but remember you're breathing in and out with the movement. Feel that pelvic floor, feel the transverse abdominis, the multifidus muscle, and while you're breathing in and out your diaphragm. The egg is being held very safely in the midsection of your body. That and relax. So that is core engagement in practical sense of the word, using the knowledge that we know. Now how we can use it, one basic asana I'm going to show you, which is called Setu Bandhasana, where you're going to totally engage your core. Now as soon as you're working on these three group of muscles, you'll realize your buttock or your gluteus muscles is also engaged. So pushing your feet into the ground, activating your pelvic floor, contracting your transverse abdominis, going into the slight posterior pelvic tilt with the multifidus, tightening of the buttocks. We're going to start lifting our lower back. Again, it's not about the height we're taking. We're talking about how much core engagement is there in this action. then the midsection in isolation. First the lower back, the mid back, and then we're going to lift the upper back. Just about 60-70% lift. Feel the strength you're creating to this section of your body. Holding here as much as you can, and slowly again in isolation. First the upper back, then the mid back, and then the lower back. So the more strength you're giving to the muscles and the more conscious attention you're doing to the movement, the more it is benefiting in helping the muscles gain strength. So do the Setu Bandhasana a couple of times again. First the entire core engagement, then in isolation, lifting the lower, the mid and the upper section of your body. Stay in Setu Bandhasana or the popular bridge pose for as long as you want. You want to go deeper, you can even lift your heels, or you go stronger, you're starting to gain strength, you can even extend your leg out, whatever feels for you. But don't let go of this core engagement and don't let go of your normal regular breath. Release your toe down, heel down. First your upper back, mid back, and then your lower back. That just feels so much warmer in this section of the body. Means we've really activated and engaged this section. Yeah. So with practice, even with your general everyday movements, you can take your attention to your core and feel how you can activate and strengthen them. So you don't have to really do it only when you're doing your physical practices. Even when you're lifting, again, like I mentioned, your side movement, your twists, your stretching out, or reaching out for something, all of that needs your core engagement. So as much as we work, move with conscious attention to the mind-body connection, the more effective it is going to be for us. So I hope you've gained a little bit of knowledge from this video. I hope it was helpful. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon so that when I come up with any more work of mine, it's going to be shared to you and alerted you with the video. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Have a good day ahead.